my notes here. Feeling good, Brad?
Yes, sir.
All right. Welcome in to another special edition of TBL News, the video pod. I'm sitting here with Brad Woznicki. How's the pronunciation on that? I feel like I just changed it from when I just asked you how to pronounce it. You say it. Brad
Woznicki. I think you're making the Polish community proud.
the rumor has it that I actually have Polish blood, so I should be able to nail this one. Brad Woznicki, the voice of the Glass City Wranglers, is with me. Thanks for joining me, Brad.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's great to talk about what's taking place for the Glass City Wranglers right now.
They're looking pretty good. Now, they've had some close ones, but they got this kid that we're calling Ice Darrington on the team. He's got ice in his veins. Finds a way to will this team to victory, even when he's not necessarily playing his best. So he's a Toledo kid. You've been covering the greater Lucas County sports universe for over a decade now, huh? How does that feel? You've been doing it for over a decade.
Well, Chris Darrington probably ages me a little bit now that I think about it, from covering him his time in high school at Toledo Scott, and then going on from there to Vincennes for a couple of years. That 1 year at Toledo, which I know we'll get to. And even before Toledo, spent the one season under Coach Barnes there at the University of Tennessee.
Yeah, so look, he didn't get a ton of burn at Tennessee, but that obviously connotes that he's the type of talent worthy of being on a D1 team. So, you know, he had that one season that you mentioned at Toledo. What'd you think of him as a Rocket?
Well, he added to a team that had a lot already coming in. He added to their depth. If you're looking at a guy like Marion Jackson, who was 18 points a game, Jalen Sanford, 15 points a game. Willie Jackson was on that team. Nate Navigado, outside shooter. Luke Napke, big guy. So there was a lot there coming in. And all those guys I just mentioned were double-figure scorers. So it really just came in where you're looking at Darrington and saying, okay, if Sanford or Navigado or Marion Jackson is not on the floor, this guy will ensure that our offense can still keep going in a multitude of ways. He had games where he scored 18, 20, 21 points, I believe, was his season high. He gave an immediate lift to that team with Vincennes and Tennessee being part of his background there. He scored a lot of points at Vincennes. He scored a lot of points at that collegiate level. Obviously, you come up to the Division I level, it's a little bit different. You got to adjust to it, but he definitely added to that team. And I know the Rockets would have loved if they could have had him for more than just 1 year.
Sure. And it's almost as though there's a role reversal going on from his time at Toledo to now with Glass City, where he's taken the majority of the shots. And it's been interesting for me, and I want to get your insider's expert perspective on this quotient, which is, how good is Anthony Carmon? It's a little hard to tell because Darrington does take up so much space offensively. It's well-deserved. That's not a knock on Darrington. But just as Chris didn't necessarily get as many shots as maybe he should have or could have when he was a Rocket, now he's certainly getting those shots as a member of the Wranglers. Talk to me about Anthony Carmon. You know, he's the kind of guy who seems like he's ready to step up. You know, Darrington had a little bit of a rough weekend, and Carmon comes in taking 21 shots, scoring 21 points in a win against Lebanon. How good is Anthony Carmon?
Well, Anthony Carmon, I think the first thing you notice about him is just how well he moves off the ball. A lot of people talk about that as far as Steph Curry's game, where he's always finding open spaces. I think Anthony Carmon does that. And it's not Carmon finding a spot in the corner for three. It's Carmon, slicing through the defense, making a catch, getting that easy finish. He understands where he can be successful. I think that the Glass City Wranglers have a few guys like that, but Carmon might be the next best guy as far as he can score inside, he can score outside, he can score from deep. And that adds to this team. I think it's going to be a situation where Carmen's going to be one of those guys where he's going to have his moments, scoring maybe 15 to 25 points a game. But it wouldn't surprise me to see a couple of other guys, especially a new addition like Dalonte Brown, who we'll get to, that can score that amount of points and take some of the work off of Chris Darrington. But make no mistake about it. Chris Darrington's come in here and, he's dropping 40-plus points. He's coming in, 30-plus games as well. And with Darrington, he's scoring in all three levels. And he's letting you know right away in pregame, during the game, postgame, that the work he put in at 5 a.m. is paying off now. So this should come to no surprise to anyone what he's doing out there on the floor.
When you talk about it not being a surprise to anyone, is it a surprise to the people of Toledo? Again, he's a local kid, but then he leaves and goes to Vincennes. Then he comes back home, really only plays that one season. As you said, there's a lot of talent on that Rockets team. What's the city of Toledo thinking about Chris Darrington right now? And, as you mentioned, there's a lot of sports in Toledo, and the Wranglers are a relatively new club. Last year called Glass City BC, this year changing their name, but it's just their second season. What's the feeling like around Toledo about this Wranglers squad that's sitting at the top of the Midwest?
Well, first off, I think it's Toledo being happy to see Chris Darrington back in the Glass City. I mean, with the amount of places he's gone to play, outside of Ohio. I mean, he was just in Syria not long ago, had to come back home because of the tough situation that has gone on over there. But he's got some familiar faces around him, and he wants to remind them that, some of the stuff that he did during his high school days where he's putting on shows there, he can do at the professional level as well. So you get a teammate of his from his high school days, played a couple of years together with Chance Hawkins. Chance Hawkins understands what Chris Darrington can do. He's going to do his part to make Darrington as successful as possible. Hawkins has been a guy who's been all over the glass, and that creates extra opportunities for Chris Darrington, who is getting to the basket. He's showing you the jumpers from the elbow, and he's showing you what he can do from range, especially when he's hitting game winners as well.
So if you look at the stat sheet, it certainly seems like it's the Darrington show, and then there's a bunch of other guys behind him. Just in the few minutes talking to you right now, Brad, it seems that the stats don't tell the whole story, do they? If this team is going to succeed, is it going to be because Darrington scores 40 a night and puts them on his back where he wears his Superman cape? Or are we not seeing the entire picture because his scoring is so prolific and we're only looking at him? What else are we missing on this Glass City squad?
30 points a game, I think, is what you can come to expect from Darrington. 25 to 30 in there on his regular basis where you can expect him to be. Because I think as guys continue to find their roles, it'll take, again, a little bit of pressure off of his shoulders. Marlon Sierra, a guy I had a chance to cover at Bowling Green State University, a guy from Miami, Florida, his mid-range game and his ability to see the floor creates opportunities for guys outside of Darrington, guys cutting the basket, guys finding some space around the perimeter. That's what Marlon Sierra can open up with while he's still going for 10, 12 points a game. Dalonte Brown, we've seen 2 games for him so far, 8 and 11 points. But the Dalonte Brown that I saw in Miami of Ohio was always capable of a double-double. His best shooting can a lot of times be from long range. What's that going to do? That's going to open up driving lanes for Chris Darrington and Anthony Carmon cutting to the basket. Jonathan Brown does the dirty work inside with his physique and always has a chance to come in for a double-double, kind of feeds off of his teammates in that way. So Darrington, again, you're expecting him to put up the big numbers because of the multitude of ways that he can score and the fact that he is not scared going inside. And he kind of lets you know right away that we're going to get this game started from the tip, and I'm coming at you for all 48 minutes.
Look, it's a scary proposition thinking that there could be a new addition to this team that's actually going to open up more driving lanes for Darrington, who seems like he can get to the basket anytime he wants. And it seems like, Brown might make that happen with greater frequency. And one of the cool things about Darrington is when he gets to the bucket, he's at least trying to put the ball in. He's not pulling this NBA stuff where you flail and yell and try to humiliate the official on national TV into giving you the call. He's looking for the end one, and he gets it a lot. And he's shooting some ridiculous number of free throws a game. When he's running on all cylinders, and again, he did have a little bit of a tough weekend, but when he's running on all cylinders, as you look around the league, and I understand there's 48 other teams to study, so I'm not putting you on the hot seat here, but at least as you look around the Midwest at a team like Kokomo, Glass City look like a championship team to you?
I think we're still a long way from that as far as where this team could be, because you're going to need to have 4 or 5 guys consistently scoring double figures and more. Right now you're seeing 3 guys in there with a couple of guys on the verge of it. Whereas you look at Kokomo and they're playing a lot more games where you're talking the scoring is going between 90 and 100 points. Whereas if you play Glass City style basketball where they want to get up and down the floor, turn defense into quick offense, that bodes well for the Glass City. If you're Kokomo and you make this more of a half-court game, that could cause some problems for the Glass City, who guys are just better when they get out and run and finish and find those opportunities. You saw that against Jamestown. You saw that against Kalamazoo. So it'll be very interesting to see where this game is played at, who's able to slow it down. Is it just turned into a 1-and-1 game, or is this some ball movement? You go look at the first meeting between these two teams and the only loss for the Glass City coming to Kokomo. Some of the things you noticed in that game, there were 15 more threes attempted by the Glass City in that game, but they knocked down 8 threes, the same that Kokomo did. You look on the glass, Kokomo out-rebounded the Glass City by 16. What does that say about the Glass City big men? Did they work hard enough? Did they finish enough inside? And they've got guys, like I said, that do the dirty work, but let's not get caught in maybe a James Harden situation with the Houston Rockets where you're saying, hey, James is going to get his 40, 50 points and we're going to watch him do it. Right. Don't get caught watching. You still got to attack the basket. You still got to get some offensive rebounds because Darrington's human. He's going to miss. Other guys around him aren't going to have the best shooting nights. How do you find ways to be successful when it isn't an offensive show?
Yeah, it's an anomalous situation when you have an Allen Iverson who can take you to the finals. So I think that's one of the reasons I'm interested in hearing from you, whether or not somebody like Carmen or maybe the new addition of Brown is capable of being the Robin to Darrington's Batman. Ultimately, they need that, right?
They absolutely do. I mean, everybody, that's today's game of professional basketball, right? You're not doing it alone. Jason Tatum's not doing it alone. He's got Jaylen Brown there with the Boston Celtics. You've tried to find the right pieces to work with James Harden. He's teamed up with Joel Embiid now, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. Nobody does it alone. This got going around the LeBron era, teaming up with Dwayne Wade. Nobody does it alone. That's the clear message, and that's going to be the case in this league. I mean, Derek Hawthorne's putting up some big-time numbers, doing his part. He had, 30 points in the first meeting, but there was 4 other guys in double figures, and that was the supporting cast. Who's going to be that supporting cast on a consistent basis for the Glass City?
This matchup coming up this Friday night, Bobcats, Wranglers. I think the whole league has this one circled, and you've hit on it a couple times now. Right now, Kokomo, who's won a couple of close games. Look, a ball bounces differently here and there, and we could be talking about, for both teams really, we could be talking about a matchup of the 3rd and 4th place team in this Midwest Conference. We're not, though. We're talking about 2 teams that are separated by a half a game for first. Talk to me about a guy like Derek Hawthorne. Again, knowing you're here to talk about Darrington and Glass City, but Hawthorne's one heck of a player. He can put up a 30, 33 any given night. I think his last 2 games, actually, he did put up 33. He's hitting big shots. Their last game against Kalamazoo, he hit the dagger. It's him and Darrington right now. It's going to be a showdown. What do you think Glass City has to do to slow down a guy like Derek Hawthorne?
Well, let's talk first just about how similar these 2 guys are in Hawthorne and Darrington. Their first look is to get to the basket, not that pull-up jumper, not shooting it from long range. They want to get to the basket and make it count. They establish themselves in that way early. Then you get into that groove. You're kind of toying with guys a little bit at the offensive end as far as what you can do with your handles, where you're going to create that separation. They're the only team, Kokomo is, to hold Glass City under 100 points. That's where I'm going back to, does this turn into a half-court game, or does this turn into an up-and-down game? So we'll see where that ends up. But another reason why I'm really excited that these 2 are meeting on Friday night this week is because in the Glass City, we've got Toledo Walleye Hockey and Toledo Mudhens Baseball both getting going next Friday. So everyone needs to show out this Friday before we get things underway on March 31st for our minor league teams. And this is the opportunity to do it at Owens Community College, the new home for the Glass City Wranglers this season. They were last year at Scott High School, which is Ben E. Williams Fieldhouse, historic fieldhouse. A lot of history has been made there, but now you're playing at a college facility. You got more space. You've got the opportunities for scouts and people to come watch at both ends of the floor behind the baskets. And they're really getting treated to that great hospitality. That's what the Glass City Wranglers organization is aiming to do, put on a show. And they need to remind everybody where to be Friday night.
Brad, you're a heck of a broadcaster, but if it ever goes south, you can be a salesman. Listen to this, Toledo. Open up your ears. Brad Woznicki says you got no excuse not to be there Friday night. Right? No mud hens. That's next week. This week, it's all about Glass City and Kokomo. I think this could be a rivalry that lasts certainly throughout this season. And, if Hawthorne and Darrington stick around for a while, this could be one heck of a matchup for a long, long time. Do you feel like making a little prediction? Can I put you on the hot seat? You want to give me the final score of this game?
Ooh, let's see. We were talking a 102-96 in the first meeting.
Mm-hmm.
If it's an up and down game, which I think is very capable of happening, I'm looking at 112-107, and I'll take the Glass City this time.
All right. He's taking the hometown team. That's the way to do it. That's the diplomatic answer. But you think it's going to be a little bit more Glass City style? You think they can place their mark on this game by pushing the ball a little bit more? I
do so. I do think that way because you're going to be feeding off the home crowd energy in there. Mm-hmm. You add in the Dalonte Brown. This will be his opportunity here at home. He's from Toledo-Bowsher High School. Well, Chris Darrington's from Toledo Scott High School. Same league. Chance Hawkins, Toledo Scott High School. You've got some names, some local guys that are looking to make a name for themselves at the professional level. Here's your chance.
All right, they're bringing it home. You heard it here first, Toledo. Brad Woznicki. Dude, thanks so much for hanging out with me, talking a little Glass City Wranglers.
Thanks for having me on, and we'll see what the Glass City Wranglers can do.
All right. Well, we'll all be watching. That's it from the TBL news desk. As I said, I did an interview earlier. I said, I haven't gotten enough of these under my belt to have a sign-off yet, so let's see what comes to mind. How about TBL News, the video pod, signing off?
That'll work.
That'll work, right? That'll play. Cool.
Get
Thanks,
a
Brad.
sound effect in there next.
Yeah, maybe a gong. I don't know.